Hey, it's Anya.
It's your girl, Nadia.
What's up, guys? It's Trent.
And I'm Ramesh, and we are The Community. We're covering the latest in pop culture, politics, and everything in between. Let's get started. Good day and welcome to another week of The Community, everybody. I know you're looking at the screen kind of weird, noticing that one of our team members is absent. Well, Nadia is in preparation for celebrating her 30-plus birthday tomorrow. So she has decided to take the weekend off and celebrate. So the celebrations have begun. So make sure down in the comments below to comment happy birthday to Nadia, give her those shout outs and tell her how much you love her and wish the best for her. But the team decided that we wanted to give you some content for the week. So we're going to continue on. So we are moving forward with phase 4 of our stage reopening. And some drama has already begun. Over the weekend, we experienced a triple murder, one day, for the first weekend that we had our freedom. So, Anya, can you give our listeners just a little insight of exactly what happened over the weekend?
Well, we had a triple homicide this weekend, basically. 3 young men, they were approached by police because they seemed suspicious. And basically, the first time they were approached by the police, they sped off. And a couple hours later, while the police were patrolling the area, they spot the car again. And so upon approaching the car, they tried to shoot at the police. And then from there, obviously the police were going to defend themselves. And so they ended up dead.
Okay. So throughout the 2.5-month quarantine, we had 2 murders. So 2.5 months, 2 murders. In one weekend, we increased that by 3. Do you feel that now that we're getting into our new normal, that the chaos that essentially was restricted during this time will become utter mayhem now that the world is starting to open back up?
Well, we don't know if it was a murder yet. We can't classify it as a murder, to be fair.
Okay.
So, incidents. Do you think more of these incidents will occur?
I don't want to think so, but it's a possibility that it can. And I say that because now that we are not on any restrictions per se, I know that we still have the 9 p.m. curfew, but other than that, we aren't as restricted as we once were. So there's more time for people to maneuver about and do the things that they probably weren't able to do before. So I would hope that we continue to lessen the killing and the crime as best as possible, but inevitably I think that it might increase just a little bit. But I just want to tell people, just try to be as careful as possible and still abide by the laws and try to still stay home as much as possible.
Yeah, the crime rate is definitely going to spike because obviously where there's more active people due to the lift and the lockdown, where there's more people, there's more action. So I just advise people to be safe, be aware of your surroundings, wear your mask, don't loiter. I don't think this is the perfect time to be loitering around in the bushes in the car, to be honest. We're still trying to come out of this pandemic. So I think so we need to be mindful and we need to be careful of where we're going and who we're going with and things of that nature.
Yeah, I agree with that trend. I have a friend who, from the start of the quarantine, he decided to start distancing himself from certain persons because he realized that one group was, I guess, feeding more negative energy into his life. So I agree. I feel that you need to be mindful of the group of friends that you associate yourselves with, because if you continue to associate with a more negative group or a group that doesn't have good intentions, essentially sometimes that's going to rub off on you, and then you may find yourself in a predicament that may cost you your life. So stay safe, do the best that you can, and avoid negative situations.
Yeah.
But I also want to chime in and say part of the increase might come in where we don't really have an economy right now. So there's a lot of free time for people to do as they please. A lot of us are not working, or a lot of us are still waiting for our jobs to reopen. Some of us may end up, being redundant and not working. So there's a lot of free time. People are going to become frustrated because, they don't have an income coming in anymore. They don't have anything to occupy their time. And so they might find other ways, unfortunately, to get money or get things of their choice, or what they decide to do. So that is also another reason that our crime might go up, and that's very unfortunate. So I'm hoping that our economy can bounce back as quickly as possible, so that people can go back to work. People can start to occupy their time in a more positive way, rather than, just being around loitering and, have nothing to do.
The scary part about that, though, Annie, is our economy literally lays on the back of tourism. And a number of our large hotels in the country have extended the time that they will be closed. So that means that many, many persons will be without a source of income. A lot of families, some families, all of their income comes from the tourism industry. It's not like some homes have some source from banking or from restaurants or food stores. A lot of persons depend on these major resorts. So the fact that a few of them are extending the time that they'll be closed, it's going to impact a lot of our economy, because that would mean that spending will be reduced, and it will take a longer time for the economy to bounce back. So that being said, yes, persons need to be extremely careful when they're going out. Be very alert of what's happening in your surrounding area, because you don't want to make yourself a victim if you can prevent it as best as possible.
Yeah, I agree totally.
And I know this maybe, I think it's also important that we, while we're praying, and I think we need to do a special prayer for the infrastructure of this country. Because like you said, we depend mostly on tourism to keep our economy thriving. And I think we have enough resources, and we have the potential to dive into other business areas. So we definitely need to pray for the infrastructure of the Bahamas, because we could do much more than just being a tourism industry. So when a pandemic happens like this again, we can do it a little more better than we did before.
Okay, so speaking of that, do you feel so similarly to how persons are protesting in the U.S. for racial injustice? Do you feel that protesting over here to make certain companies that are quasi-government, so managed partly private, partly by government, to move more into energy-efficient ways of operating, and then moving our infrastructure into a more less of a tourism-based
Ramesh,
business?
there are so many things.
So
there's so many things we can be protesting in the Bahamas, but I'm not sure if our Bahamian people is interested in that.
I don't want to say the interest may not be there. I also feel like I don't feel like the knowledge is there. So a lot of persons are aware of maybe solar energy. They'll say, "Oh, the sun is out; it's always hot. Let's use solar energy." But there are so many more ways that we can do. We are surrounded by water. Hydro energy is also there. Wind energy. So one of my Instagram friends posted on Instagram recently that we can have some storm-resistant turbines so that during a hurricane, those turbines are actually being moved that will generate electricity so that electricity isn't turned off during a storm. Those are some things that, yes, it may be expensive to initially purchase, but it will be so beneficial to the country once it is in place. So I don't know if it's just continually writing into your government officials to make these changes, or just continuing to educate persons on the different ways that we can change. But I do think that change is necessary.
Yeah.
While I do understand sometimes the benefit of protesting, I don't know if that would actually make a difference. The government is going to still do what they want to do, and that's just what it is. Now, will they go out and say, oh, yes, we're open to suggestions? That doesn't mean that they're actually going to take our suggestions. It doesn't mean that they're actually going to use them and then put people in place, people who are knowledgeable in place and not people that they know or have affiliation with in place to say, put these new steps, out there. I'm pretty sure that the government is aware that there are many different ways or other ways that we can make funds for the country, and we don't have to just rely on tourism. But the current government, previous governments, they haven't done anything about it. Now, I might be wrong because I don't, but from my knowledge, what have they actually done? I think they've only been selling it or selling away whatever it is that we could possibly take and use to make
money.
More money for our country and for the people of the Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know if the protesting part of it would even make a difference at this point. And currently, the government isn't, while it's there and it might be lingering and we're all talking about it, right now their focus is trying to bring money into the economy right now because we literally don't have one at this moment.
By any means.
I mean, the protesting, we don't know if it'll work. I mean, at the end of the day, we still should try if we need to.
Mm-hmm. But how many of us are actually going to go there and do it?
Like Remy said, the knowledge about a lot of things are not there. And with knowledge is power. So first we need to start with
educating people.
Right. And being more serious-minded about things. And yeah, and I think once we change our mindset, we'll be a better country as a nation. And then we'll be able to actually act on these issues. Because we can't even talk about the issues because the awareness,
Yeah.
Well, one thing that persons have been protesting recently is the removal of the Christopher Columbus statue at Government House. So a lot of protests have been happening in the U.S. Once again, we've been speaking about it for the past few weeks, about racial injustice. Persons in the United States have been protesting to have statues removed all across the country of persons that have promoted social injustice throughout the years. So in the Bahamas, we have Christopher Columbus. So I know in our storybooks, our history books, it states that Christopher Columbus sailed across the seas and he founded the Bahamas and the United States of the Americas. And then as you read a little deeper, you realize that no, Christopher Columbus didn't find the Bahamas. Christopher Columbus came to the Bahamas and abused the people that were already here. He colonized the Bahamas, but was that what we wanted, or is that what the world felt was best for us? Did we make these decisions?
I don't think they should move the statue, man.
Why? What is
I'm kidding. They need to demolish that statue. I'm kidding. They need to blow it up.
So
for me, it doesn't matter to me, It really doesn't matter to me if it remains or if they take it down. However, I was watching the news a couple of days ago, and I think it was Dr. Curry from the University of the Bahamas. He teaches history there. He suggested that instead of, I guess, throwing it overboard or breaking it down or whatever, take it and put it into a museum and have a historian properly, write an essay or something about it to properly describe him and what he did for the country or whatever. So instead of just demolishing it or throwing it overboard, keep it in a museum, which I think is a good idea if they decide to take it down. I at the end of the day, demolishing it doesn't make a difference. It has already happened. So instead of trying to pretend like it never happened by throwing it overboard, demolishing it, learn about it, realize that that's part of the country's history, and then we move forward. The man is already dead, so there's nothing we can do about him, But for me, it doesn't matter. They leave it up, take it down. It doesn't bother me at this point.
My issue is, I do understand the idea of taking it and putting it into a museum. But the issue for me is that globally, our histories have been whitewashed. And they're not, and the educational system, when it comes to history, especially Black history, is not diversified. So that being another discussion in itself, I go downtown to the capital of my country and see a huge statue of a colonizer.
But Trent, it's been there for how long? As far as I know, that's the seeing that there. If you take that down now, it'll just be like, I'm pretty sure everyone is going to say, I remember when the Christopher Columbus statue was there.
That's fine.
It's still going to be.
But what message does it send? What message does it send? Why that statue has to be in the middle of our city? Put it in a museum, like you said.
Why are we so hard up to take it down now? Just
why we are hard up to take it down now?
Around in the world, we could have taken it down long time ago if that was the case.
The reason why we're hard up to take it down now is, like we spoke about before, awareness. So a lot of us are very reactive, and we're monkey see, monkey do. The Americans, the Black Americans, and their white allies, and the people of color, the POC they call it in the United States, they are growing in numbers, and numbers equals power. There's power in numbers, and they are fed up with certain things, and they're speaking out about it. And times are changing. We're not going to continue to celebrate these things that we've been celebrating for years. And us Bahamians noticing this racial pandemic, we now want to jump on the monkey see, monkey do bandwagon. But I need people to actually be educated about it and understand how serious it is. Don't just jump up and be like, oh yeah, let's move the statue because the people in America are protesting and they're doing things, so we need to do things too. I'm glad that some people are actually taking it serious, and it's not just a jump on the trend thing. But yeah, I just think, to go back to what we spoke about before, we need to educate ourselves about these things. Let me give you an example.
Well, then it has to start from the social studies books in primary school, because from I can remember, my social studies books were celebrating Christopher Columbus.
Yeah,
so now we don't have to change them and be honest about it and said that he really isn't the great guy that he is. The kids already
we were trained to celebrate these white colonizers.
By whom though? Who trained us? Because by the time that these books started to come out trend, by the time our history books were written, a lot of our history books were written by Black Bahamians.
Yeah, whose minds were conditioned by the system. Okay, when we think about the system, I honestly didn't want to take much time on this topic, I ain't gonna lie. But let me give you an example. Colorism, that's something that was ingrained in our minds from we were kids. When you turn on the TV, when you listen to the radio, when you look in the magazines. It's the same thing with education. It's the exact same approach with education. We were conditioned to celebrate and speak of these well-known colonizers by the bigger, larger countries. We're the third world country. And we do what they do. We literally thrive off of what they do, basically. So if they're celebrating these colonizers, we're going to celebrate the colonizers. That's how the system is, really.
So like you said,
to put it in shorter terms,
currently we are being extremely reactive, and following what we see the United States is doing. I think we as a country need to get to a place in being more independent. So a lot of persons have had the discussion on whether we were ready to be an independent nation or not. Because are we truly thinking independently, or are we always looking to see what is the world doing so that I know what to follow? That's not being a leader. That's not being a trendsetter. That's being a follower. And if the country is ever going to evolve into being this great place or this wonderful paradise that we always sell it to be, we need to be more independent in our way of thinking, in our way of doing business, in our way of operation. Because once again, if we keep following what everyone else is doing, we're always going to be left behind. We're going to be left behind in technology because we have to wait and see if somebody else can do it before we do it, rather than training or grooming someone here to be that new scientist who's going to come up with this evolutionary product that's going to take us to the next level. I think we need to stop being so dependent and actually hone in on what we claim to be as an independent nation. So the fact that we still have the main reason Columbus is at our government house is because we were an English nation and we have never truly shaken off those shackles. We still report directly to the Queen, though we say that no, we don't, we do. Okay? That we are still a Commonwealth nation, which means that we still have ties to the United Kingdom.
And I do actually love that we still have ties to the United Kingdom. Because and
that serves as a safety net for us. We try, but we have that safety net.
I love the monarch, and you can say whatever you want to say.
We're not ready to break away from it until we fix our mindsets and build our country and actually be independent.
That's gonna take some time. You do know that it's not gonna be 1 day or 1 year. That's gonna definitely take some time.
How much time? We are celebrating our 47th year of independence this year. How much more time do we need? 47 years, at least something. By now we should have said, you know what? We don't need at least the Governor General. We at least minimum. Because what does the Governor General do? What is
I actually prefer
to the Queen.
Amen, hallelujah. To do what?
Speaking of governors,
why can't my Prime Minister do that?
Make me the Governor General.
Speaking of governors, why Woodes Rogers wasn't? Why didn't put Woodes Rogers there? Mind you, he shouldn't be there either. He need to go too.
We gave him a wharf. We gave him Woodes Rogers wharf. They get something. All of them must get something. You know, give them that little piece.
No.
So
I think ultimately the statue being there or not, it doesn't affect me. It might affect other persons, but I don't want us to just jump on that bandwagon that everyone is on now. Because if we're going to do it, we need to but if we're going to do it, we need to know why are we doing this and the reason behind it. Just because the United States is doing it doesn't mean that we have to do it. We are our own country.
So I agree with that.
So that's how I feel.
If we're going to make a decision to make these changes, it can't just be, just like you say, Trent, it can't just be now removing Columbus statue and then we finish. Boom. We made change. Praise the Lord. No. If it's now we got to go rename Woodes Rogers Wharf, then we need to do that too. But it can't just be a singular thing. We need to look at the entire system and yes, you can't make everything happen at once. We're not going to clip our fingers and everything's going to change. But we need to establish a plan and work on how we're going to change these things. Whether that takes 10 years, that's a plan that needs to be put in place now so that over the course of 10 years, we can execute these things. I think as a country, we need to plan and then execute versus just execute and then be like, so why did they take that statue down again? I never had no issue with that because that's what the conversation's going to be after that. People are going to be like, that statue wasn't bothering none of them, you know. I know why. They was down there bothering with them people's statue. So education, a plan,
I've been there all my life.
You want to be independent.
Great.
So someone who a lot of persons don't feel has been independent in their thinking or their actions recently is a one Miss Nicole Mirage. Yes, once again, I know her name is not Nicole, but that's her name, okay? So Nicki Minaj joined forces with recently released convict, Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Rat.
Yes, the whistleblower, okay? For their latest song and video. A lot of persons have been in Nicki Minaj's DMs and blasting her on Twitter for teaming up with someone who essentially went against the music industry, went against what it meant to hold on to a friendship or a relationship in terms of ratting out certain things that someone shares with you or that you were exposed to. So tell me, do you think that Nicki Minaj has been chasing clout, or do you think that she was just helping out a friend?
Definitely, I think that she's chasing clout.
Why?
Because that's what she's known for. Why is Nicki Minaj collaborating with this individual? What's his name again? Sorry.
Tekashi 6ix9ine.
I always get these guys mixed up, so I'm going to Google him. Sorry.
So, Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Is this the guy?
This is the guy who has on the rainbow lace front, and only very recently that
he might have dirt on her. He might have dirt on her. That may be another reason why. He might have dirt on her.
Nicki Minaj is not a part of a gang. I am so sorry. That young lady she don't have no moves. She can't fight. She just wants to be in the midst. But she ain't a flauner, trust me.
The only thing I have to say
is she had plastic surgery, and we all know that already.
The only thing I have to say about the situation is, I mean, people change, and I'm not saying he has changed, but let's say he goes through the process of becoming a better person, and he collaborates with someone. Will they then attack that person too?
So here's my thing with it. So I feel that right now he has no remorse for what he did. Not saying that he did anything wrong.
Just to clarify, sorry, what exactly did he do, Ramesh?
So Tekashi 6ix9ine was...
Hell on everybody.
Before that, though, he presented the illusion that he was a part of this gang. So he infiltrated a gang. He was never a part of this gang before. He made certain people in the music industry feel like he was a part of this gang. So they trusted him with certain information that other gang members would know. So he was throwing up the signs, referencing the gang in his music, but this young man was never actually a part of this gang. However, he still carried the guns. He still, once again, like I said, rapped about it, and the police arrested him. So he was arrested and convicted on gun charges and all these different things. While in jail or while in prison, he was given his plea deal. You give up the gang members and you get to walk. In a typical gang, many of the persons don't take the plea deal and they serve their time. Once again, Tekashi wasn't a part of the gang. So what did he do? He talked. And he didn't talk on just the individuals that the investigators were asking him about. He spilled all of the tea. So he said Trent had plaits in his hair. He said Anya was wearing an olive green shirt. Ramesh was wearing a white hat. All they asked was if Trent house blue. They didn't ask none of the other questions, and he gave all the details.
Wow.
So that's why the industry has turned their back on him. So he got his release from jail, his early time. He only served about 1.5 years. And came out not showing any remorse. He actually came out like, ha, y'all thought y'all had me, y'all thought y'all was going to kill me, but I out here living my life. He was flashing his money, getting his lace front redone every 2 weeks, and now releasing some trash music.
He was releasing trash music before he went into prison.
Agreed.
But at the end of the day, it's selling. So that's why I don't hate on Nicki Minaj for that, because she's going to make a lot of money from it. Whether we like it or not, the man sells the music. It's so he's go to number one. So if I'm Nicki, if he now I don't know how it went. He might have reached out to Nicki to ask to do a song, however it went. But I would take it. That's money. That's a lot of money that she's gonna make. It is what it is. I know it's all about like how you look or whatever in the industry, but ultimately she made a song with him before. I like the song. And they made a lot of good money. And
no sense.
I like the song. I really don't care. I still listen to it. So why not do another song?
The reason why, Anya, is because just like you said, it's a business. So I'm not just going to hop on to get a quick number one and then no one will ever collaborate with me again. Nobody's going to help me to produce my tracks. Nobody's going to collab with me because now they feel that I associate myself with a certain group of people. Mm-hmm. And me as the trendsetter, I'm supposed to be the top of my lane. Why am I now downgrading myself to just shoot for number one? That's not what it's all about. I'm not just going to align myself with a certain level of people if I'm supposed to be at the top of my game.
I think she's. I don't want to say the word. I don't want to say the word desperate, but I just feel like she's at that point in her career where there's a lot of pressure on her to stay that top female rap act that she's somewhat lost lately. There's Megan, there's Cardi, and I just feel like she's trying different things to see how she can get back into the chart light.
Well, she's throwing a lot of things at the wall and nothing sticking.
Well, I mean, messing with Tekashi ain't gonna get her there. He has nothing at this point.
Never know unless it's
right. So it has to be all about just I don't know, making money at this point. It has to be, because if you're trying to still be number one, or you're trying to have some kind of be the leader or whatever the case is, collaborating with Tekashi wouldn't be the best idea. If anything, you need to push for one of the better male rappers in the industry, or one of the other good female rappers in the industry, or something of that sort.
A lot of them. Mm-hmm. A lot of them feel like having that number one solidifies everything, and it really doesn't.
Yeah, but you finally got it. After 22 years, you finally get your number one with.
Wasn't that canceled?
Now, she canceled. Her and the number one canceled. For those who don't know, we're talking about Doja Rat, who is also a racist rapper, but we ain't talking about her today.
Doja Rat.
But for me, Nicki, I just think has a volatile personality. And what's happening is, even if you did this collaboration because this is your friend, you did this collaboration because you want to help him get a number one, or for him to do well on the charts. Then going back and before the album was released, talking bad about people on Instagram and Twitter. And then after the song was released, talking bad to people on Instagram and Twitter. Yes, you're a rapper, but you don't have to be a negative person. Mm-hmm. Your raps don't always have to be rapping about shading somebody or how you better than somebody. It's not always about that. And if that's all that you can bring to the table, I don't know the quality of rapper that I would want, or the quality of rapper that I would want to support. I want somebody to tell me about real life things that I go through, that I could sit and listen to your music and be like, yeah, you don't lie. Yeah, one of them slick this, isn't it? So I could be like, ooh, wow, yeah, you saw it. But no, if your entire discography is all about shaming other artists or shaming other persons, I'm kind of fan of it, because that means you're a toxic person. So one good thing that I took out of this entire quarantine was being able to rewatch some of my favorite old school TV shows. So tell me, if you had the opportunity to reboot any of your old TV shows and potentially recast any of the lead members. So that means you can add someone to the new cast, or you can take someone out of the cast who you feel didn't help the show. What show and who would it be? Anya, let's start with you.
Wow, why me? I don't know. I think that was a reboot, but I actually would I would like to reboot Charm.
Okay, with the original
I think,
cast
but
and
did
not
they
new
have a
people?
reboot already?
They did, and the reason
I
it
didn't watch.
didn't work, is because they cast new witches as well as kept the old witches. So it's like we're the teachers, but we ain't really in the show. We could pop up from time to time. Yeah, that
Why
might
wouldn't
work.
that work though? Maybe the screenplay was just bad.
No, because that's not what
No,
I'm looking
so
for. If I reboot the
okay,
show, I want to see
no,
my people.
no.
I don't
So
know
Charm
connection to
is
these new people.
so Charm has been my one of my very favorite shows. I loved Charm. So I would like another reboot, but with the original cast. I don't mind seeing them a little bit older because in the other earlier seasons, you would see like flashbacks of Leo and Piper old. I would love to see that, and I wanted to see Wyatt and Chris grow up.
Growing up,
So for
right.
me, I would not mind watching Charmed reboot, but I want the original cast. I don't want anything changed. I want to see Paige married with the child because she did get married to the cop. He was a cop, I think so. Anyway, she did get married. I would love to see that reboot. I love Charm. Don't change anybody. Just bring it back.
I've never watched Charmed. I ain't gonna lie. My mom used to watch it every morning, and I just. But,
yes, and after school at 3:30.
I can't think of anything that I would reboot because I feel like reboots don't work, especially when the show was many years ago. So for me, instead of doing a reboot, I would do like what you call it, spin-off of I don't even know.
You have no favorite show track?
Okay. I can't even think of anything serious. I can think of like childhood stuff. Okay, for instance. For instance, Zoe 101. They could do a spin-off and call it PCA.
So
you want to see new children. You don't want to see your old cast back. You don't want the nostalgia of seeing.
They're too old. What are you gonna? You would have to create a new show. You would have to create a new show, and you would have to take us through their lives as college students or something like that. You can't take them back to PCA.
Right, so they could be in college. They can still be the same setup where you're in these dorms. It's similar, it's not something that is so far-fetched, but I don't think a whole new cast, that's like watching a new show.
I do love my nostalgia, but at the same time, I still do love fresh faces. So yes, I would love to see Zoe 101 come back, but I still like to see I still would like to see a spin-off.
I guess. See, okay, so let me give you an example of what I didn't think worked as a spin-off, but would work great as a reboot. So this isn't my one, but this is just an example. So Raven's Home. If they had brought the original cast back of Raven, That's So Raven, that show, I think, would have been more successful than the spin-off of Raven's Home. So yes, you could still incorporate the storylines of Raven's Home into That's So Raven, but I need a Victor Baxter in my life. I need to see Corey in his room just coming up with some new invention to annoy Raven. I will take Eddie out of the mix because Eddie is on drugs now, and he will not help the show. He will actually cause the show not be on Disney. But I need that friendship between Chelsea and Raven. I need Raven to have an actual career. On Raven's Home, Raven does not have an actual career. That was not what we built up on That's So Raven. She was either supposed to be a singer or a fashion designer, not a struggling pet owner, something she is now. That's not the story that I left.
She's a cheetah girl by now.
Yeah, she could have been a cheetah girl. They could have put that storyline right in there. She'd been on tour and then all these different things. So that's just an example.
So what's your show?
So.
You're dramatic.
So my show isn't even with real human beings.
Oh my God.
Dawson's Creek?
No. My show is going to be my favorite, which is Rugrats. However, I want the adults to be more involved in it. So I want everything to remain the same, where the children are still children, but I want to see more of Dee Dee, Phil, Stu, Lou. I need to see all the adults because those little moments
But the
that we
shows
got
about the babies, though.
the little pieces that we got about the adults used to be pure comedy gold.
What was Phil and Lil's mom name again?
It was too Betty.
That's who I
Ratchet.
want. Betty, I need.
It was too
Watch
aggressive
it.
for me.
You know what, Trent?
Wait.
Just like you
Come
say you want a spin-off, I want a spin-off of Just Betty.
Right.
Betty is far too much.
She is that friend you just want. She's not. She's
that friend you can't take out.
You need that
She
friend.
has no filter.
Dee Dee need that friend because Dee Dee's off.
Okay, so imagine it now. You could imagine Betty and Dee Dee going out on a girls' night out, and you seeing that in the storyline. Come on,
And Dee Dee be like, Dee Dee be like, Betty, no, it's not that serious. And Betty be like, yes, it is, Dee Dee. It is that serious.
Betty going to the club.
Too aggressive for me.
Betty going to the club to pick up guys, even though she got a husband at home. Okay.
He's scared of her, so it don't matter.
I love how Rugrats did that though. It didn't do the generic male-female roles.
Yes, I love that. The parents were ratchet. Oh Jesus!
You could imagine
I
Charlotte.
would have liked to meet more of Susie.
Angelica's mom?
I don't
Boss
remember
be
them.
like Charlotte.
What?
Do you know Charlotte was running the whole thing? Yes.
What Angelica daddy used to do?
He had money. I know that. He had money.
Right. So, but wasn't he brothers? Wasn't he brothers with Stu?
Yeah, Stu and Drew.
So how he broke? How was Stu broke? But he had money. The brother had money.
Because Drew had a real job.
Stu was an inventor, right?
Yeah. So he'd spend all his money on these inventions.
Don't come for Stu.
Some
Yeah, that
worked
was a
and
job.
some didn't.
Don't do that to Stu. That was a job.
You built
No, I'm not
machines
saying that
in
it wasn't a
Reptile
job.
Land in Paris that was breaking down.
He's a cartoon character. It works.
Either way. The storyline of the adults and a little bit of the kids, I'd love it. That's what I would bring. You
But
could
the show is
imagine.
called Rugrats. So
Yes,
it's
we
more
just
about-
seen them.
Do
Okay,
you
so
mean
I would
say
do it.
Rugrats?
I would do it
Rugrats,
50-50.
the
I'd do it
parents.
50-50. I'd do it 50-50. Half the show be focusing on the
The parents,
kids.
a full storyline.
Yes.
You remember Rugrats used to have it was a half an hour show, but it used to have a 10 minutes of a story, right?
Yes.
I used to be broken up like that, 10 minutes of one story.
Two segments.
Right.
Right.
So instead of 2 segments, just 1 full episode.
Broken it. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind watching Rugrats again. I really don't. So I like the show.
My honorable mentions would be Hey Arnold and As Told by Ginger. It's a reboot.
I would want to
Agree
see
with
what's
Hey
happening.
Arnold.
I want to see what happened with Ginger. Sorry.
And make Xenon from Disney an actual series. Love Xenon.
What
I'm
we
sorry,
could do with
love it.
Xenon, though? I ain't gonna lie.
I love Xenon.
What we could do with Xenon?
Have a
Nobody could be going to the
Sitcom.
same concert each week. So watch this man sing zoom, zoom, zoom.
he's not gonna be a main character.
He have to be. He literally made that
Doesn't
movie
have to.
iconic. He made that movie
He could be
iconic.
the reoccurring star like Brittany was in The Fairly Odd Parents. You know, and Chip
Chip
Skylark.
Skylark.
Right.
Ooh, the Fairly Odd Parents for real.
No, Jimmy Neutron.
I love
needs to
that
come-
show. I like
Jimmy
the Fairly Odd
Neutron needs to
Parents.
come back.
No, I
Oh
did
my
not
God.
like Jimmy
Loved
Neutron.
it.
Jimmy
Love
Neutron
it.
ended way too soon. Gone too soon.
You know what they need to reboot? Blues Clues. I want the original Blues Clues.
I was showing Savannah and
Because
Troy.
I've been seeing
original.
online that Blues Clues now do emails.
We coming to an end of our podcast, but Anya, we need to talk about Blue's Clues. Is correct. So I had it on Nick one morning because we're at home, nothing to do, and Blue's Clues was on. They changed the song. Steve or whatever he named now is Asian. Yes, Blue don't
He's
get
not Steve.
mail. Whatever he named, I'm not
Blue,
invested in him. They don't have the mailbox no more.
Really?
Just get email.
Please tell me they ain't throw away salt and pepper. Oh, God, I can't take it.
I wasn't watching that
And
long.
paprika.
And cinnamon.
Oh, my God.
I don't even know if Magenta back. I don't know if Blue have a love life. I don't know. That
But
was
they
a
kept
reboot. Well, like they had to, but I don't even think it's named Blue's Clues anymore. It's named Blue's
That's Blue
Adventures. It's named Blue Adventure or something like that. It ain't working.
You know, they
No,
had
I still like to
Steve,
watch Peppa
and then they
Pig
had
and Paw
Joe.
Patrol.
and they had Joe, and now they have this guy.
I felt so bad when Steve had to leave. Oh, when Steve left and his cousin Joe took over the house. Oh my God.
Joe wasn't
Joe
so
was
bad.
okay.
Joe
The
wasn't
show
so
wasn't bad. I
bad.
just talking about that episode when you had to see Steve leave to go off to college. And they say Steve actually went to a psych ward because he was crazy from talking to me.
I
Rip
gotta go.
Steve.
Now the show is over.
We love you, Steve. We hear you.
Oh, jeez.
Just end Blue's Clues. Just end it. Don't do no more.
Yeah, that's a
Might
show
as well let the
that
children watch Paw
the
Patrol at
reboot
this point.
didn't.
Peppa Pig.
The reboot. Peppa Pig says, come on. Peppa Pig is a shady pig.
Yes,
Let me just tell
I
you.
think.
Peppa Pig is like a SpongeBob. It's not going anywhere right now. It makes that particular network. I forget the name of the network in the UK where Peppa Pig was created, but it makes them money, and Nickelodeon is syndicated, so they ain't going nowhere, just like SpongeBob.
Peppa Pig, that's a boss. When she called that girl and say, Lucy, can you whistle?
Lucy.
No, Peppa, I don't know how to whistle. Wait, is this whistling? Click. Peppa?
Y'all are so silly.
Peppa? Oh, Lord. Down in the comments, please let us know which TV shows you would like to reboot. And if you were to change out any of the main characters, who would they be? Thank you for listening to this week's Community. Have a great week.